Welcome back to the DDK CAD Technology Systems Composite Panel Builder demonstration series, and in this session we're going to talk about using a PDF file as your background architectural, and whether or not you can, if it's a high quality PDF, whether or not you can use the snaps and boundary commands and all that kind of stuff. So just to recap a little bit on the setup. Inside the main program setup dialog, this is where you would set up your customer information. Up here is your job number, any other codes that you need to put in there. Here's your system type that you can select. Currently we just do rain screen and wet seal on the basic install. After you set that, you can come in here and set your reveal thicknesses and offsets and stuff like that. That's usually just your default. In here you set up your colors. I set up the same color, three different sheet sizes, just so I could get a different hatch pattern for different panel sizes, or panel shapes and different phases of the project. Okay, so down here you set up your rivets, and this is all covered in other videos. For example, A1, you click on A1 if you're not sure what it is, and if you're not using the second rivet or pilot hole, then just set it to 0 in here, and then you won't get it when you build a panel. All the other stuff in here, weeps, clips, and dimensions, they're all the same format, you know. So anyway, let's get started. Yeah, we'll say whatever we did. Okay, that's fine. Inside here we inserted or basically cut and paste a PDF file, then selected the PDF in the series of PDFs that are in there, and then scaled it accordingly. This one was ×2. I don't know why, but it was, and so we did it that way. So if you have a high quality PDF, you can come in here and usually just take a shape like this and click using the boundary panel utility, and it would put a panel in each of the clicks. However, you can see how thick the polylines are here, so it's not finding exactly what we're looking for, and it doesn't recognize it. So because of that, we have one option is to use our rectangle command and just click and find the snap points, and just keep doing that over and over and over again, you know, until you're through this drawing, which takes probably about 10 minutes to walk through it and cover everything. That's option one on laying out the panels. And when you're done, you get this kind of a layout, and you got 3 different views. Down here is soffit, and this is a front elevation, and then a side elevation. An alternative method is if you took that PDF, which is this, and you basically just said, hey, here's this, you know, the reveals aren't really centered here yet, so you just kind of like snap a line between the 2 points and give yourself the thing, the center of the reveal, and then just copy it across, and then copy it down, do the same on the sides, and then repeat the pattern over here and here. Then you could use the grid utility, the P grid. And one of the things you can do on a plan or a section, you can actually attach a wall column, or that's under our section utility. We can set a window row column, and that's what we're doing right here. So what we do is we said, okay, we got some windows here, here, and here, so we put those in there, and then we said, where are they on the horizontal? And they're right here on the vertical. I'm sorry. And then we did that. So to see what you can get quicker, you would just say, hey, let's use the P grid, and it's down here. It's called P panel grid, and then you pick on the horizontal and then the vertical. Then you come over here to where you have the upper right corner of where the reveal center of that reveal would be, and then you get all the rectangles placed in there for your panel grid. And you can do the same thing below and up here, and you're done. So once you do that, I recommend you move them out of there or copy them over. And then now I went into a coloring scheme that says, hey, we have certain panels that are yellow. They are the CP panels, or the coping. And then we have L-shaped panels, which are these green ones here, because it wraps around the little corner here. Soffit panels, which are down here, and I kept the color scheme. Blue are the soffit panels that kind of look like this, wrap under. These guys right here are really canopy panels, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah, so basically these are canopy panels right here, that we're basically going to be looking at the backs of the panels, reflective ceiling. and then this is the other elevation. So we got wall panels in there and whatever. So let's go ahead and start assigning panel tags here. One of the other things you want to do is identify where any sections or plans are going to be located. So for example, here we have a plan that goes around the corner like this, and we have a section that wraps on back under, and then we also have a coping at the roof level where it looks like this. So in our section utility here, we can just draw a plan or section. I'll just show you how to do that. So plans always go from left to right, and then you just go like that, and then or whatever the shape is. And then if you need to, you can get the actual lengths from the layout and set them correctly. And the same with sections is how you draw them. It's real simple. But once you do it, now they're ready. They need to be linked to panels. So let's create these L-shaped panels first. So we're going to go in our convert panel utility, and inside here we already got the shapes. So we're going to click on this one. If we didn't, and we would maybe have a shape that's inside a architectural background, a DWG file. This PDF you can't do it, but if you did, you could just click inside it and it would lay out the panel for you. So let's go ahead and window these three, and they're gonna be L panels. So it's gonna come up and say, do you want to create duplicate tags? And I say no, we're just gonna play it safe and just go with individual panels. L dash, let's make it capital L, no dash, L01. That's our first panel. And I say okay, and then it says which color do you want. Let's go with this sheet size right here. So we get an L1, 2, and a 3. All right, now what we could do is we can link this plan to it, or we could link it later. It doesn't matter. So if we wanted to link the panel or the plan or section to it, we're going to click here. It's going to be a quick link, plan and section. Click on your plan, click on the panels that's involved, and say OK, and hit return. So now this plan is attached to these panels, so it knows that it has a fold in it. Okay, so we got them out of the way. Let's do our C panels across the top in this phase one. So let's go in, same thing, C, we got the rectangle shapes there already, and let's just cross just to pick them up. We got them. And in here, instead of O, we're going to go with the CO1. And then we'll say OK, and it's still the same. So there we go. We get all of our panels through there. Now, this guy needs a plan attached to him as well because it's a coping corner. So let's go back and add that to it just so we don't forget. And you can always come back later if you do forget. It doesn't matter. So we got that attached. And then we say okay. Then we come over here and we say, guess what? This section is common for all of these panels. And it's like, So let's go ahead and link it to all the panels as well. So we'll come back in here, quick link, plan and section, and we pick the section, and then we say okay, we're done. Now it says select the objects. Okay, so we got the section. Now we're going to pick the objects. So you only have to pick one first, and then you can window the rest of them. So because there's a lot of them in there. So there. Now they all get this section attached to them. All right, we're making headway. Now let's go ahead and do the wall panels. Okay, so same thing. Come in, click on this. Let's grab some wall panels over here. Let's grab the rest of them over here. So these are our wall panels in this area. Then I hit return, and hey, guess what? W01 is our wall panel, first one. And then we're going to say, hey, it's still the same color. There goes all of our wall panels. And then finally at the bottom here, we got a two-step thing. We got this panel that's linked to the plan, and then we got it linked to a section. So these were called, I think, the SF across there. So let's get our SF panels in the way. Boom. And then we just highlight these guys and then highlight the rest of them. These are our SF panels, SF01, and say OK, same color. And then we're going to link them, but I'm going to create this one and then we'll link them all together. So this panel needs to be generated, and I think that is our SFL. It's white, so we'll call it SFL. So that's just a one panel. So come in here, click on there, and it's called SFL01, And thank you very much. We click on here and then it's still the same color. Now we're going to link this section to all those panels and of course the plan to that one. So quick link, plans and sections, and click on that guy here. We're done. Do it again, plans and sections. This section, first one, and then we'll window the rest of them just so we get them all. Or you could just pick them individually, but that's what AutoCAD's about. All right, now we get these panels all done, and they're phase one. We'll call them phase one. So they're the raw. They're this phase one is solid, okay, meaning no hatch pattern. So let's go to phase two. So we still got like some of these panels, and we can still borrow this section because it still applies to these guys. These have no plan, so that's okay, but it does have a section for the top. So let's go back to our create panels, convert these guys, and we'll just do a crossing window through it, and then say okay. Then there's CP, and I'll trick you, CP01. But wait a minute, phase 2, CP01's already over here. It says, and it'll know that, and it'll automatically do the number. If we go with the same color, if we change the color, you can still have a CP01 and a CP whatever the next value is. So maybe we want to start at 10 or 12. I don't know. Let's escape out of that for a second. So, and then we'll look at our other numbering. It all depends on what you want to do. So in here, we actually went up to 13. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So let's start it at 14. Okay, so now we know what we're doing. It all depends on how you want to do this. If you're using duplicate tags, then CP 14 is where we're going to start. Okay, and we're going to say okay, and this time we're going to pick the secondary color. See how it has a hatch pattern attached to it? Okay, and now we're going to link this plan and section, quick links, plans and section. Hope I'm not going too fast for you, but we're just going to grab this guy and then come back over here and grab both of these panel tags. You have to touch the tag. Okay, if you notice here, we got a PE on all four sides. Those are called perimeter extrusions, so that's what we're going to use. So let's go in here and do our elevation or our wall panels. Same thing again. Before we start it, let's look at the last wall panel we created, and it should be somewhere around 23, 24. Okay, so it's at 24. Okay, so the last panel was 24. So let's do 25 over here. Normally these would all be the same color and stuff like that, so you wouldn't be worried about that, but I'm trying to keep a phase going here for you just to give you a visual. So 25 is what we're shooting for. So convert panel, and then these guys right here, cross window them and see W25. That's our starting point. It's going to be secondary color. There they are. And then down here our SF panels ended up at 12. So we'll go SF13. SF13 is our first panel over here. So we'll do that. SF13. Double click there. SF13. SF13. And then we say OK, and it's the secondary color, and then we're happy. And then we're going to link these two to that section because they fold under. So quick link, plans and section. You can type Q link, it'll do the same thing. It'll bring it up, click, then take this guy and this guy. There we go. So now we got these guys done. I left these plans. See, if you click on it, you'll see the review. So you can actually use the wall joint utility after you set up your dimension style, and just do that. So you can do that on both sides if you want. So anyway, that's there. And then finally we got these guys down here in S panels. We haven't even touched them, but they're phase 3, so we can just start from the beginning and say S panels, create panel, convert, and it's going to be phase 3, and they're all going to be SO1, I think. SO1, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, SO1. Okay, and the final, and there's your hatch pattern for them. Okay, there was no plan or section involved here. So what we did is we created phase 1, 2, and 3. Now, we could take all these panels and create an estimate, but we would have to estimate this material, and this material, and separate. utility. So if we wanted to know what our plans for phase one are, or I'm sorry, our material for phase one, we could come in here and say optimize before we even build flat panels. We can come in here and say looking at elevation panels in just phase one. So there's your phase one, and it comes up and it says, well, which color was that? And that was this one right here. So hopefully it's the same one. And estimate it. And um, we can actually estimate it against different material sheet sizes. So no matter what you pick at the beginning, you can always set your own. And then we say, okay, those are the two colors or two sheet sizes I'm interested in. Save, and then let's go ahead and fill the sheet. It has 53 panels, so it's probably take a few seconds to shape, to do its thing. And once it's done, it'll tell you. And then this is just phase one. So let's come down here and add our estimating panels for phase one. And as you can see, it tries to lay them out. Now, some of these panels got rotated 90 degrees. If your grain fixed, if the grain is fixed on these panels, then what you would do is you come back in here and you would use my utility that says grain, apply the grain to these panels and make them all horizontal or vertical. But I'm not going to change it right now, so we're going to let that slide. So that was phase one. I'm just going to throw a box around it real quick. Okay, that's phase one. And I could just copy. I'll just copy phase one down there just so you know this is what we're looking at. Okay, now let's do phase two. Same thing. Boom, boom. Optimize. This is just to give us an estimate of the materials we're going to need. And we're going to pick alabaster number 2. That's fine. Estimate. And then fill the sheets. And see, that was a lot quicker because it's phase 2. And it doesn't have very many panels in it. Okay. Let's draw ourselves a polyline around that. Just to give us something to work with. That's phase 2. And let's go to phase 3. We'll just put that right here. We're going to do our optimizing elevation panels in phase 3. And there they are. We'll just window them and come in here and say phase 3, estimate, and then fill the sheets. Should be quick. Thank you very much. And then down here is phase 3. And then we'll just kind of drop the panels in right there. All right. And then we can copy this over. So, because you have 3 different materials, you're going to want to see, it's really the same material, but it's just 3 different sheet sizes. So we probably could have optimized them all together, but we wanted to do it this way. So here's your first estimate of actual materials, no, estimated materials, okay? So we pick this guy right here, and we get a, we can throw that in Notepad and see what we got. And we got 14 sheets at 62 by 96, 61% yield. Not so great, okay? And then we could run this guy over here. See how you, at the bottom of your thing, you get a yield on your sheet sizes and stuff like that. So this one's not running so hot either. And then finally this one over here, this one filled up pretty good, 92% on that one, 92. They all filled pretty good. So this one probably has your best yield overall. And then we'll just take a quick look at that. And if you want, you could actually cut and paste that, Control C, Control V, and just paste it into the report. And there you go. So this one has an 85% yield. There's all your materials and stuff like that. So this is estimating. Now let's try to window the whole thing and get an estimate. And because they are the same color, I just was trying to show you phase 1, phase 2, that kind of stuff like that. Optimize elevation panels. This time we're going to look at them all together. This way it'll group what it can, and I'm just going to say alabaster, and it sees them all because they're all the same alabaster. That's the bottom line. So then we're going to run the estimate, and this time it's going to take a few more seconds because it's got to walk through 83, and it's trying to figure out the best layout for all of them together. So the next step we're going to do after this optimizes our elevation view, because this is something you want to do a quick estimate and get that out and say, hey, are we going to do this addition or we're not doing this addition? And this is how much material it's going to estimate it take. Okay, there we go. And now it's going to take all of these and use them in the configuration of trying to figure out what the best layout is here. And so there. And now if we take our box rectangle and throw it around here, it's going to give us a estimated total package thing here. And there we go, and it has a 67.37%. There's the total material use you need, and 21 sheets at that size and one sheet at this size. So that's what you get, and there's these are just taking basically the extrusion lengths and figuring out what the return leg lengths of each of these panels are, and it creates a rectangle shape basically. Now let's go into actually drawing these flat panels. So let's go ahead and draw them, and this is our draw flat panel, and this will do your let's just say all panels. Okay, and then we're going to come at the top and say start at C1 and just drag your cursor down to W30 and say draw, and it'll go into this work zone and start drawing as many panels as it can. Then AutoCAD will sit there and say I'm tired, and it'll kind of like spin a little wheel and say let me just go ahead and show you what these are. If it doesn't get tired of doing this, then you'll get them all, but most of the time it pulls up a little circle, delay, and let you know what it's doing. Okay, so when this is all done, we can optimize these guys, but I'd rather put them into a staged title sheet. And what it'll do is it should set them apart and say, hey, this is phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. If you know what phase 1, phase 2, 3 panels are, you can just basically set a release number in the title sheet and say, hey, these are all being grouped together, and I don't want them to even be optimized separately. I want them all, be treated as like we did before for elevation panels. So that's what it's doing right now. It's taking that job, and I'll zoom in on a few of the panels just to show you. It's almost done. I think there's 80, 83, yeah, I'm pretty sure. So some of the panels you'll see have folds in, some have double folds going one way and the other way, but most panels are square or rectangular. So these are those coping panels across the top, and you get the V cuts and all this kind of stuff. And then oh, here's the one that actually folds around the corner. It looks like that. All right, what else do we have in here? Who knows? Okay, here's that soffit panel that folded around the corner also. Okay, now, so we got all these panels. Let's go ahead and stage them. And staging is we're going to take a title block and put each panel inside a title block and show a profile around the thing. So just pay attention and you'll see it. Okay, I'm going to window all these panels and hit return. And then I'm going to pick a point. I'm just going to pick a point right here. And it's going to start building the basically taking each of those panels and putting it inside this thing. And the properties of showing and not showing the profiles, whether or not you want the barcode, however you want the layout of this title block is yours, because you can design it. There's some things that have to stay in there, but other than that, not, so what we could have done is we could have just did phase 1 panels, then phase 2 panels, and phase 3 panels, and then blocked them out and did whatever we want to. I'm just showing you different methods of doing, and sometimes you can see the top profiles just at the border of the sheet. So sometimes you have to maybe move some of this stuff back inside that title block. But in the lower corner of the work area of these title blocks, you can see an extrusion table, and that's handy for your extrusion takeoffs, so you can get all the material takeoff. And hopefully it's getting close to the last panel, so we can go ahead and optimize these guys. And just keep talking because it's not quite done yet. So, oh, there's that fancy panel. Okay, but you see, it would take you hours and hours and hours, and the only reason it's taking me so long is because I'm talking about it, and creating a video for you. So let's see. when these are all done, you can actually align all these panels again. Instead of one straight line of panels, you can do it as and normally this thing would break it down into three different rows of panels, one for the first color, one for the second, one for the third. But because they're all alabaster, there says, hey, you guys are all the same color, so I don't care that you're on multiple sheets. I'm just going to treat you as the same. So it does. So there we go. So what you get is that. And what you can do is you can say, hey, I want to align all these panels. And you're going to see that some of these panels have the top profile sticking outside like that, you know. So when I align them, that's going to disappear, or I need to move them inside and update them. But let's do it this way. Let's take the first grouping up to here. There's all these big ones here. We're going to create a release number. So we're going to say all these panels are release number 1. So I just cross through them, and now they're all release number 1. And you can see that right in the middle of the bottom of the image. So those are release 1 panels, and they're almost done. Okay, so release 1. Now these guys right here, I'm going to take this section right here and make them release 2. So we're going to set release number for release 2. And then you'll see the value of this in a second. And I'm going to start at this big title block right there and work my way over to this small one. There we go. So each of those are 2. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I got 3. I'm going to have 3 releases eventually here. And I'm going to say that, hey, I want to just look at release 1. Hey, I want to just look at release 2 material. Hey, I want to look at release 3. So I can do that. So that's release 2, and from here over is release 3. So I'm going to do that one more time, set a release number, and this one's 3. And it has nothing to do with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, because I'm just showing you multiple ways of doing it. So now that it's going to be all phase 3, okay, and you're almost done. So, okay, there we go. So now we did that. Now what we can do is come in here and say, hey, you know all those title blocks you have out there, could you give me a cut list on them? And it says, sure, select them all. And it says, okay, here's what I found. And there's all 83 panels. And I said, well, you know what? I'm really interested in the cut list for phase 1, or quote, your release 1. Or I'm interested in release 2. Or I'm interested in release 3. So there. So that's how you would break it up, and you can say, well, my cut list is more involved. It looks like breakdown of that. And same thing. You can say, hey, give me release 2, give me release 3, and then there's the breakdown of each of the panels and the extrusion lengths for them. So you can do that. Let's see what these panels look like optimized as elevation, as these types of panels. So let's go ahead. Same thing as we did for elevation panels, but this time it's flat panels, and we're just going to take them all. And because I'm just multiple panel colors were selected, only using it. Okay. Oh, now it cares about it. So okay. So it's going to take whatever color it sees, and it's only going to optimize that. That's pretty cool. Okay, there it is. And that's probably just a small package of panels, but just to show you, you can group them. So this one is alucobond, but it's still alabaster, but it's that small sheet size, and so we grab that one. So we really should be, since we're playing games with 3 colors, we really should take these guys and build them only, you know. And you can do that by just doing this and say select the elevation panels, and there. So now this is the only panels that are going to get done in phase 1, and there's your phase 1 panels coming in. Then we would have taken these, staged them off, and set them in their own little box and said, hey, phase 1 panels, and then same thing for phase 2 and same thing for phase 3. And then we can it's just optimizing. I was just kind of like multiple ways of doing the same thing over and over and over again. So we're 29 minutes into this video. Um, Once you've recreated a panel inside the work area here, anything that's left inside this work area gets deleted. So you have to be careful. If you create something, you either want to stage it or move it out of here so it doesn't get deleted. So, but we already created these panels above, you remember, and they have title sheets and everything. But the program says it only wants to see one occurrence of this flat panel design. So if you have it in a title sheet, it'll go find that and delete it, and then say that you've just you just recreated it here. So see all the title sheets up here that have been taken out. Those are all phase one. So we could move this up and say these are all phase one, and or I could stage them. So I'm just going to move them, and we're going to remember that phase one is right there. Okay, now we're just going to draw these panels right here and select the ones we want, and that's what we want. And we're going to highlight them, and this will go faster because it's only a small group. And then the phase three panels are the soffit panels. Now, one thing I forgot about the soffit panels is that, or the reflective ceiling panels. Um, are we still done? Okay, we're done. I'm going to move them up and call it phase. They're two. This is phase two, and we're going to just move them right there. That's phase two. And then finally, this is phase three. However, I may have forgot, and I'm going to look right now, because soffit panels or canopy panels they're reflective, so they should have this RC selected in it. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, that wasn't RC. So I'm going to run that utility, edit the panel, and then pick one, and then or window all of them, I'm sorry. And now I got them all, and now I'm going to create them as reflective and save it. Now when I build these panels, um, the the panels will not mirror on the y-axis. They will stay in the orientation that they are, and you can tell because the dimension, instead of flipping over to the right side, the vertical dimension, it'll stay on the left side of the thing. So you know that this panel has never been rotated or mirrored, I'm sorry. So now this is phase three. So we can optimize these panels as phase three panels, right? And say optimize them. And we did this basically before. Whoops. And I want to use the optimizer, not this thing. So I'm going to come in here, pick my optimizer one more time, optimize the sheet field because we're looking at three phases here. So the flat panels are right here. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm supposed to stage these just so we can get the extrusion takeoff. So let me stage these guys. Notice all the stage panels disappeared. So I'm going to stage these first. And this is our phase three. And I'm going to put them right here. And this is our phase three panels. And then I'm going to stage to phase two and then the phase one. But just after this is done, I'm just going to optimize this phase three just to show you. Because we want that extrusion table to be read in our optimization process. So here we go. So we're going to optimize these guys, and that's done. I can pull it in up here too. Flat panels, window them, and there they are. Fill the sheet. There's my default. Some of the panels are big, and then say okay. They're oversized for that sheet size, so there we go. And 109, I said it was too big. SO9 for that particular 59 something, 61. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go back into our optimization, and we can re-optimize it. I can optimize it in multiple sheets and then compare my patterns, or I can just come right back in here and say, hey, let me pick a bigger size for this thing. So we're going to optimize this again, but we're going to pick another sheet size in here. So we got 62 by 196. Evidently the PE value is probably pushing the limits on the section. It's probably pushing it above 62. So right now I don't have a 63 or 73 in there, but I could go in and add one under this material list. But when you see those errors that say, hey, these are too big, you need to revisit your extrusion type, and inside here we can edit what our extrusion for a PE is, and it says that a PE is 1 inch, so it's just shaving over that 69, or I'm sorry, 62. So 59, 60, 61, 61 and 3/16. Somebody's coming in pretty close. So that's the reason one of those panels didn't show up. But let's just take a polyline box around this and see what our optimization is. And we can do that. Here we go. There's your sheets. There's your total yield is 86.7% on that face. And now if you want to send it out the door, you come into your DXF out, you say optimize sheets. And when you do this, you're going to see that it has multiple A1s and stuff like that. So first thing you want to do is go back and get rid of everybody that you created that you don't need anymore, or when you build it, you give it its own unique tag number, because each one of those had their own A1s in there. So let's come back here and look at that one more time. DXF out, optimize sheets. There's an A1 and A1, so we got two. We still have two. So there's another sequence of events going on in here that we don't know where they are. A1, A2, here they are. So we blow them away. Whoops. Erase. Okay, any day now. There we go. Good job. Okay, so now when you look, anytime you see, you need to go get and delete what you did. Okay, so there we go, A1, A2, A3. So inside here, we could send them out as PDF files. We could do a DWG, DXF, whatever you want. In here, your CNC layer. Here's the layers that we're using. They should match what your CNC is required. And when we built these panels, we can set up those layers so that the cut line is on the right layer, the rivets and all that. So the output folder, let's close this. We don't need to add any more. And then let's just say, we'll pretend it's a DWG, okay? And now we can just say, hey, send AO1, AO2, and AO3. Oh, let's send them all out, okay? And export it. And it should find each one of these and walk through it. Now, if you don't remember where you sent it, you can always open it up again and say view the output folder, and it should pop open the folder, and it's alabaster. Anything's dated today should be 10 something in here, should be 10 something. Was it AO4? AO1, 2, 3, and 4, today's date. There they are. So let's just open 5 and zoom extents. There we go. So there's the drawing that would be set in your folder for inputting into your your CNC machine. So let's go back to our original drawing. Let's close this one. Okay, there's our original sample. Okay, so you can do that, or you can send out a PDF file on individual panels. You can come in here and say, hey, let's do this one as a PDF, and say, okay, export that. So it'll find it on the drawing, create a PDF file of it, and of course that was the bad one, but that's okay. And the same thing before. We come into individuals, we say view the output folder, and the folders are set in the main dialog where it says setup, and then you just point to where you want those folders to be. So we're in PDF, and I think it was alabaster. Depends. I'm sorry. Set up the output folder. Let's view the output folder. Okay, so what was it called? SO4. SO4. Let's go program, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was PDF and date modified SO4. It's in here somewhere. I just forgot what I was looking for. Alabaster SO4. Here we go. So what it does too is send out your files, so your DWGs, DXFs, whatever, and puts them in the folder of the color that you're using, so that you're not creating like all these different panels inside different colors folders. So it kind of isolates them for you. So here's SO4. This is the PDF of it, and of course it opened way over here. I'll drag it over for you. So as we can doctor up your barcode if you're not using it or whatever. And there's something for the shop. Okay, so I think that's enough to explain what's going on. And if you need more, then we can do a one-on-one. Okay, thanks for listening.